This is Crypto Banter, this is Crypto Banter, this is Crypto Banter. Crypto Banter for you, this is Crypto Banter, this is Crypto Banter, this is Crypto Banter. Crypto Banter for you, smash those likes. Smash those likes. Crypto Banter for you, smash those likes. Smash those likes. Crypto Banter for you, smash those likes. Smash those likes. Crypto Banter for you, for you, for you.
Fred, have you got that video of Mila Kunis? I'm still struggling to understand what Mila Kunis, what Vitalik is doing in Ashton Kutcher's house.
Hey, babe.
Oh, no.
What's an NFT?
Oof. A digital form of art or form of entertainment or a moment in time that one person can own.
Beautiful answer. Hey, Vitalik, what's an NFT?
An NFT is a non-fungible token, so it's a digital asset where there is only one copy of that asset on the entire blockchain. Now, NFTs can be used to represent many different kinds of things. They can be used to represent works of art. Sometimes they're used to represent conference tickets. They're used to represent ENS names, which is kind of like a digital name on the blockchain that you can have. You can use NFTs to do lots of things.
I want to be Vitalik when I grow up.
What?
I want to be Vitalik when I grow up.
We all do.
We all want to be Vitalik when we grow up. Well, welcome back, guys. Welcome back. As you can see, Bitcoin is still holding that 32,500 level. The mood is positive. We're heading into a weekend after what has been possibly one of the biggest weeks in crypto. And we've been here, I think, 10 times this week doing shows. So welcome back. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Welcome to CryptoBanter.com. We're a family here. We've got 350,000 members in this family. Fastest growing crypto channel probably in the world. Every day, 2 streams every single day. 1 stream early in the morning, charting technicals with our sniper. And then a later show, which is all about fundamentals. And today, banter. So Fridays, we bring you the big banter. And today we've got a massive banter for you, because I'm not going to tell you which 3 of these are billionaires. Put it back. Okay, so I'm not going to give you any hints, okay? No clues. All I'm going to say is that 3 of the people in the tile are billionaires. And there's 1 that's not a billionaire. So that's 1, 2, 3 are billionaires. 1 is not a billionaire. Tell me in the comments who you think the one that's not a billionaire is. Okay, it's not as obvious as you think. It's not as obvious as you think. Altcoins looking good. Coin market cap looking good. Let's quickly go through some of the tokens that we spoke about before we start the Friday banter. We did speak about Axie Infinity. This thing isn't stopping. It isn't stopping. And today we're going to talk to our guests about whether this thing is really such a big revolution. And I must say, I think Axie Infinity is insane. The possibilities are endless with it. Market cap is 1.385 billion. So still not very, very, very strong. Bitcoin dominance here, 44.2, coming down a little bit. But it does feel like the mood is much better. I'm speaking to people. They are positive. The articles are looking a whole lot more positive. I mean, Fred sends me articles every single day before the show. And like, these are the articles that Fred was sending to me today. We are still in the bull market. Bitcoin short squeeze to 40,000K likely. We've been watching the grayscale premium down to 10.31, which means that there is all of a sudden institutional demand and they are buying grayscale products. So looking much better. But you've heard that all from us all week long. Now it's time to hear it from 3 billionaires and 1 guy who's not a billionaire. You guys can decide who's not a billionaire in the stream. Smash the like, subscribe to our channel, share this content. The more you smash the like, the more people in crypto join these streams. Thank you for what you've done so far. You have managed to get us up the rankings. We're moving up the rankings super fast, but we need you. We need you to carry on doing what you guys are doing. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in a friend of mine. You guys can decide whether or not he's a billionaire. You guys can decide whether or not he's a billionaire. Vinny, welcome back, my friend.
Hey, Ryan. Causing trouble as always, huh?
I got you out of bed this morning, right?
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's 7 a.m.
We haven't seen you for a while. I've seen you partying it up on your Instagram profile, but I haven't seen you for a while. I'm going to bring in two of my other friends. I'm going to bring in Sam. Sam, welcome back to Crypto Banter.
Thanks for having me.
And of course, what is a Friday banter without Alex Mashinsky? I mean, you always need the one guy who's going to argue about everything. Hey, guys. All right, guys, a big week in crypto this week. A lot of people kind of think that capitulation to like 28,500 or 29,000 was like the big breakdown. And, you know, when you combine that with Elon Musk talking at the summit, kind of putting the fears out. So you're like putting out the fears. Freddie, just play the one video that we had with Elon Musk.
I'm not an investor. The only publicly traded stock I own is Tesla, and the only significant thing I own outside of Tesla is my SpaceX stock that you know, helped create both companies. So, but apart from that, I do own Bitcoin, and Tesla owns Bitcoin, SpaceX owns Bitcoin. And I do personally own a bit of Ethereum and Dogecoin, of course.
Okay, were any of you surprised by his disclosure? I mean, it's the first time that he's publicly said that all of the companies own Bitcoin, which is, for me, was a little bit of a surprise. Then he said he does own Bitcoin and he does own Dogecoin. Any surprises there?
No huge surprises. And the fact that he agreed to have the discussion, I think, meant that it was decently likely he was going to say at least somewhat positive things about crypto.
Why do you think he agreed to have a discussion? Why do you think that he agreed to this discussion? He's had such a fun time being elusive and being almost playing with the market around his position. Why do you think he agreed to have a discussion?
Well, this was portrayed as a big debate where they're all going to debate stuff, and obviously they agreed on 90% of everything. So I think they coordinated. Both Jack and Kathy Wood, I think, did a great job as kind of setting up the agenda and making sure that Elon will agree on everything they're talking about. So all of this is good for crypto. All of this is good for Bitcoin, and I really applaud them for putting this together, because this negative, agenda that was set up by people who are afraid of Bitcoin, afraid of crypto, has been really taking hold. You know, Bitcoin is not green. We don't need this, right? It's too risky. You're gonna lose money. All of that is really what's been pushing down the prices, and we just changed the narrative.
Sam, why do you think he agreed to go on the stream?
I think there's like sort of the cynical interpretation is he was kind of in danger of losing sway in the crypto audience. I think if he came out negatively and without engaging deeply too many times in a row, and I think you already were starting to see that drop a little bit. So I think the cynical interpretation is he realized he needed to buy some brownie points. He needed to show face, and he needed to give at least a very slight endorsement of crypto in order to sort of like maintain the audience. I think there's like maybe just an Occam's razor interpretation though, which is that he likes crypto and thinks crypto is cool and good. And so he went on a like crypto related show so he could talk about crypto, which he's excited about. And that might just explain it.
Vinny, what do you think?
Well, my take on it was very simple. Like Elon's expectation of Bitcoin is different from what he wants crypto to be for. Like he co-founded Exocom, which became PayPal. And he's looking for more of a currency type solution, but he acknowledges that Bitcoin is a store of value for the industry. And he's saying, look, Bitcoin can do these things really well, and I like it. I own it. My companies own it. We're good. But I'm trying to experiment with Dogecoin to do other things. And that's kind of the message I got. So it's not like, look, it's very hard on Twitter to take, like even my tweets, I'm pretty sarcastic in my tweets. Like when tweets go out, they're either funny, humorous, that to make them engaging, you have to add some sort of spin to it. And people misinterpret what he's saying often. And I think it was good for him to go on a show and actually give quite a reasonably, detailed explanation as to his thinking as to why he thinks Bitcoin can't do certain things and why it can do certain things really well, and why he sees the future in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Doge, and maybe something else in the future. Who knows? But for now, I think he's given a well-rounded approach to it.
From the macro point of view, from the macro Bitcoin point of view, do you think that the institutions and other corporates got some reassurance that Bitcoin wasn't bad? They spoke about ESG. Kathy Wood brought up a very good point around ESG. She said ESG stands for environment, social, and governance. And she said from a social, maybe from an E, it doesn't score an A+, but certainly from an S, from a social point of view, it does score an A+. Do you think that, also, if you look at the way the event was structured, the first track of talks was demystifying Bitcoin. Spoke about Bitcoin, debunking Bitcoin wastes energy with Nick Carter. Then debunking Bitcoin facilitates criminal transaction activity with Chainalysis. Then Bitcoin is unscalable. Then Bitcoin ownership is controlled. Debunking all the myths that whales own the majority of the Bitcoin in the market. And then with Lynn Olden saying Bitcoin can be displaced easily by another coin. It seemed to me like they were looking at all the things that the negative things, and one by one they decided to debunk them with data. That's the feeling that I got watching this thing.
Well, just one more point on what Vinny was saying, because I totally agree. I think a lot of the community was worried that Elon is going to back Dogecoin and kind of compete with Bitcoin. So for me, the most important sentence in the entire presentation was Elon saying, I have much more Bitcoin than I have Dogecoin, right? So that kind of says, okay, my money is in Bitcoin. I might be playing with this thing on the side, but don't worry about it. I'm going to back the big dog here.
Yeah. I think Elon has like a decently nuanced understanding of like the roles that crypto could play and the traits it would have to play those various roles, and like does a good job of analyzing that in some ways relative to being extremely uninformed about different cryptocurrencies. Like it sort of reads like he's heard of like 2.5 cryptocurrencies in his life and spent like 300 hours thinking about them, but hasn't learned about like the fourth cryptocurrency yet. So I mean, it's actually kind of interesting because it's so different than what you see on crypto Twitter, where frankly you see a lot of people who have learned about 2,000 cryptocurrencies and their life, and sometimes can't say a coherent sentence about a single one of them. But I definitely think he could use from a little bit more research.
Sam, he's supposed to take us to the moon with his rocket, so come on.
He's got other jobs. I hear you.
Yeah, I mean, look, while Elon is taking us to the moon in his rockets, Sam Bankman-Fried is taking on the whole of trading. Sam, you've been busy. I mean, you've been really busy. If it's not branding arenas or sponsoring sports clubs, it's raising $900 million. You've had your hands full.
Yeah, it's been a really cool last year for us, and I think we've started to finally put enough pieces together that we have a lot of opportunities available in front of us that we just didn't realistically have before. And it just massively opens up the design space of what the company can become.
What will this company become? Because I was asked earlier on a podcast what I thought of it, and I said, to me, it feels like what Sam is trying to build is one trading place where you'll be able to trade anything in the world. And I kind of said, they said, why are people willing to buy FTX at an $18 billion valuation? I said, because I think Sam is building one trading hub where you can trade everything in the world. Is that the vision?
Yes.
Great. So then my intuition is pretty spot on. How did you find raising money in this market? Because the reason why I ask is it feels like there is I'm not even going to call it a bear market, but I'm going to call it a bearish cycle on the markets. And we'll talk about that in a second. but it feels like there's an undercurrent for anyone that's in the markets and building in the markets. It feels like the VCs and the smart money has never been more gung-ho on crypto.
Oh, it definitely was briefly more gung-ho on crypto for about 2 weeks in May. But I think more generally to your point, it's mostly correct, which is, sort of thinking about July 2021 versus, say, any time before late 2020 in the history of crypto. I think you choose July 2021. And so, sort of my sense is like there has been a material cooling off since, April and May of 2021, but like it is still a much more exciting market than like anything we saw in any of 2018 or 2019. And so, everything is relative here. I think one other thing that's just worth noting is a lot of people had a really shitty time over the last year and a half, including the economy in some respects, but paradoxically, also a lot of people made a lot of money in the last year and a half, and that has pretty large impacts on the funding markets and frankly on the products and the trading spaces as well.
All right, Vinny, I'm going to go to you. You're the price oracle. You're my gauge when markets are going up and markets are going down. How are you feeling about where we are in the cycle now?
Yeah, like what I tell people about like the 2017 run up and crash and whatnot is like the bigger the party, the bigger the hangover. And 2017 we had a pretty big party. I think that the current market run, like we're still in the midst of a sort of secular bull market right now. And what you just saw was, there was some sort of rationality that came into the market and said, look, the run's been a bit too hard, too heavy, too quickly. Let's have a bit of a pullback. There's a couple of factors that are making sure that Bitcoin doesn't drop too low right now. Obviously, there's a bit of a supply shock since the halving. There's not enough Bitcoin out there for this cycle yet. The market hasn't gone crazy. It's kind of like jumping off the first floor of a building. You're not going to hurt yourself. You're not going to kill yourself. You get a little bit hurt. We didn't go high enough for this. There's too much pain right now. So a 50% drawdown isn't that big, realistically, in the crypto markets. And also what supports the market is, over the past couple of years, you have a number of people on subscription buying programs with Coinbase and others, where they're just accumulating Bitcoin every month, whether the price goes up and down, which is also adding to the supply shock Willie, we talk about this all the time. And so I think we're going to see the base forming, and it really kind of has the bottom out like just below 30K. And I posted a tweet which you retweeted. Well, if 30K holds, I think we get to 100K this year. And I still stand by that. I think 30K did hold on a decent 24-hour or 36-hour basis, and I think we're going back up. And I think institutions are definitely accumulating. One thing I am seeing is family offices, in particular, are accumulating Bitcoin, and they're doing it quietly. Like people aren't going out there and publishing. Like people who are accumulating are still not publishing that they're buying because they don't want to push the price. They don't want to get out. They're in accumulation mode. So what you're going to find is this accumulation is happening quietly right now.
It does feel like everyone's in accumulation mode. We heard that Kathy Wood, ARX Invest, bought a whole lot of GBTC shares, 3 days, $100 million worth of GBTC shares, 3 days before the chat with Jack and Elon. Sam, apparently you've been accumulating Bitcoin at under $30,000. Why specifically now under $30,000? What was the thing that said, okay, under $30,000, we're good to go?
Seems like a cool number. I know. I think it's sort of a combination of things, but like there really was a lot of heat in the market when we were at 50K. And to be clear, I'm not saying it was overpriced there, because I think if there had been one or two gigantic good news stories that had come out at 50 to 60K, we may have just gone straight to 100K, and filled out the capital base so no one got liquidated going down. That didn't happen. And instead there was one or two negative stories and people got liquidated. But you just look at open interest, right, and just track it. Open interest fell massively. By the time we got down to 30K, there really wasn't anyone left to liquidate. Like everyone who put on very leveraged long positions in that range was either good or not good. And I also think that in terms of material negative news, the world ran out of it, and it started recycling negative news. Where each sort of incremental announcement was not much of an update, it was mostly rehashing the previous one. And you kept seeing like little bits of selling on that, but like I kind of think that the damage looked like it was sort of maybe done by then, and so like I think that there's a secular positive trend over the next few years of institutions getting involved in the space as a backdrop. And so I think if you don't have anything else, like my instinct is like up is more likely than down. But of course, there could always be other things. I just sort of like ran out of other things that I thought were going to be negative short term. And also none of that is investment advice. And I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And you should never think you have more than like a 51% chance, if you're lucky, of guessing which direction markets are going to move.
So one of the people on the stream who may or may not be a billionaire, because we said there are only 3 billionaires on the stream.
Right.
One
We're
of
all
them said,
envious of you, Ron. You can,
no idea what he's talking about. Speaking of billionaires are going to space. Sam, have you got any plans to go to space?
No. I mean, I think it's fucking awesome. I also am extremely scared of heights, and also being in places with no oxygen. So I'm not sure it's a great fit for me. I have to say it would be the most terrifying moment of my life.
Can we just talk about space for a second? I know it's got nothing to do with crypto, but what is the big deal with going to space and spending? I mean, I was offered to buy a seat on Virgin. I think it was for $250,000 to go up and be in space for a good couple of minutes. I turned it down, but that's also because I'm really scared of heights. That's why I'm so short, because I think if I was any taller, I'd be scared of myself.
Right.
What is this thing about going to space? Like, do you guys, I mean, anybody else actually want to go to space?
It's the
NFT.
It's the final frontier. It's literally the final frontier for mankind. Like we've explored it. I mean, maybe not entirely, but we've explored it to a large degree. And it's the curiosity of what's out there. And I think the advancement only comes when you push yourself to the edge. And you have to, like, as a species, put yourself past the barriers. And if space is a barrier, we should look past it. I'm actually very supportive of it. I think I'm
supportive of what they're doing. I'm supportive of what they're doing.
Well, from a tech perspective as well, like what Starlink is doing is actually phenomenal. I think Starlink can bring basically broadband internet to the entire Earth and basically cut out the telcos in a big way. I mean, think about it. We still use phone numbers to call people around the world with like dialing codes and area codes. It's ridiculous. We should have a unique identifier, and anywhere in the world you are, you can connect to a Starlink satellite and not even require a phone number. Like, why are we tied to phone numbers from certain countries?
I agree with you. Fuck phone numbers. Alex, what do you think?
Well, I think being an astronaut gives you like an instant gold medal. So it's definitely something unique. But Starlink is amazing, but you don't need to go to space for 2 minutes to put Starlinks in, satellites in space. So I think space tourism is a little bit of a misnomer. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's fun, but I don't know how many people are actually going to do it.
Oh, Alex, I'll challenge you there. I haven't been to space, but people who have been to space have all come back saying it changes your perspective on life, on Earth, the world.
You mean all 10 of them? You mean all 10 of them? There's only been like 10 people, right? Like,
no. I mean, you're right. There's been a lot more than 10 people going to space, and like there's been, So I think the point is that it changes your world.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying how many people can we actually get there, and all those people are going to be rich people who can afford it, right? So
no. That's not the goal.
Fact space. They did it.
That's not the goal. The goal is to commercialize it, guys. Like the goal is that anyone can go to space in 10 years' time for like maybe $5,000 or something. Like
I vote for your first idea of giving everybody digital identity. I like that much better.
Cool. I mean.
And they did wait for Jeff Bezos to be in space to launch the Amazon Jobs digital currency and blockchain product lead. Do you want to innovate on behalf of customers within the payments and financial systems? So Amazon, again, looks like they're building a little blockchain, something to do with blockchain, right? And that was found today. So it does look like, everybody's getting in. It looks like everybody. The crypto is now blockchain is now the big thing.
I think they looked at Sam doing Solana and they got jealous. So I think that's what's happening there.
Let's talk about Solana, because I'm not going to mention names, but I know that there are at least 3 people on the stream that are all in on Solana. I'm not going to mention names. It's 3 of them, of those 3, only 2 are billionaires. So 2 are billionaires, 1 is not, but there's 3 people on the stream that are all in on Solana. Sam, what is it about Solana? Why, of all the blockchains? I mean, just think about it. You could have picked Cardano. You could have picked, there's a lot of blockchains. You could have picked Polkadot, not really a blockchain, but a bridge between chains. Why Solana? Why is every project that I want to invest in that is building on Solana tells me Sam has invested?
Yeah, I mean, it's I think the reason is like sort of simple, which is, you take a big company, how many transactions per second does it have? I don't know, about 1 million seems to be roughly the answer. You take a fast blockchain, how many transactions per second does it have? About 1,000, unless it's Solana. Like, it really is just like you take all the blockchains and you're like, what is the entire set of currently existing public permissionless blockchains that have an ambition to scale up to the number of transactions per second that a single very large company would require? I think, as far as I know, it's a set of one. That one is Solana. No one else is trying. And I kind of think it's like an important thing to try for. So that's like where the upside of DeFi lies. And so, and it's like, but it's not just that it's the fastest today. It's like getting faster than any of the other ones with like a roadmap to do it. And look, there's a lot else going on. And like, frankly, I mean, it's not perfect. And certainly you look a year ago when I first started looking into it, and like, there wasn't even a wallet on Solana. So it's like, there's a lot of progress to make. But some of these things are things you can build out. And some of these things are like numbers which aren't big enough and are never going to move. And it's hard to get through that.
Okay, no, I mean, I know there's another one of you on the call that really likes Solana. Maybe you want to answer as to why you like Solana?
I guess you're talking about me. So I mean, I met Anatoly in 2018. He came to the office. We were starting out. I brought the deal into Multicoin, led the deal for Multicoin, so I've been a big supporter of Solana ever since. And to Sam's point, the throughput is actually what is exciting for me. But also, like, Anatoly and Raj are just fantastic founders. And so when they were thinking about Solana, one of the questions I asked Anatoly was like, "What do you think of decentralization?" And he's like, "Look, we can get this thing to about 15,000 nodes and be pretty decentralized. Like, it may not scale to billions of nodes around the world like Bitcoin's goal is with small blocks, but we can get to a reasonable level of decentralization. So the trade-off, the scalability trilemma will come into play, and you got to figure out how to scale this thing. And so the scalability and then the cost, getting Solana transactions are ultra cheap. Finality is like 400 milliseconds, super fast. It was a no-brainer for me. And so it's the only layer one that I've backed outside of, obviously Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. Like I'm just really all in on Solana for a layer one.
It seems like there's a lot of very smart people building on Solana. Now, I mean, I was a judge in the recent hackathon, and I saw the projects that were building on Solana. And I mean, there are some really, really, really smart minds building on Solana. I think there's 3 ecosystems where I've seen, or 4 ecosystems where I've seen the brain power migrating to. So the first one is Solana. Obviously, there's a lot of brain power going to Solana. There's a massive amount of brain power going on to Arweave in the background. Very quietly, seems like very smart people are building on Arweave. A lot of brain power going on to Terra, Luna. Seems like a lot of small applications are being built there. Another one, but unfortunately hacked twice in 1 week, was Rune or Thorchain. A lot of building happening on Thorchain. Thoughts on where the brain power is migrating to now? Because I think the best thing is to follow the brain power. Solana definitely, I think, taking a big share of the brain power. Where else is the brain power migrating to in the space?
Migrating away from Ethereum, you mean, or?
Well, just in general.
Look, I think there's still a lot of great talent coming in from the outside, but internally, I think like we just launched Luna yesterday on Celsius, right? So I think definitely a great project, but again, there's a big cloud around the stable coins and how governments are going to treat it, and so on. So I think the chains that are going to do very well are the ones who find additional use cases instead of trying to steal stuff from Ethereum. I think right now, if you look at Polkadot or you look at Cardano, they're focusing on trying to really grab stuff from Ethereum, which is, in my view, just not a winning strategy. So I hope that like you're looking at Solana, you're seeing a lot of new ideas, a lot of real innovation, which I'm super excited about, and that's where we need to really dig our teeth into.
Vinny, where are you seeing talent? Where are you seeing migration of talent? Because usually if you follow the talent, the money follows.
Yeah, so this. I mean, look, my 2 sort of favorite cryptos are Solana and Filecoin. And I think that both are just doing really well with developer ecosystems and infrastructure. What you're seeing with Solana, which is really interesting, is that they're able to execute really quickly and build products that people need and want, purely because they're able to do it at a pace faster than people doing it on Ethereum and at lower costs, etc. So Ethereum has been really good as the master sort of sandbox where you can come up with ideas and test it out, like Ethereum pioneered NFTs to a large extent, etc. But then if things work, it's just too expensive on Ethereum, so it's got to go elsewhere. And so the notion that you can sort of ideate and use Ethereum as the sandbox with the biggest user base, but then if something really works, like DeFi, move DeFi over to Solana because it's cheaper, it's faster, it can scale better. So like we're seeing the brainpower go there because people realize they can't build what they want to build easily on Ethereum and at low cost and for the mass market. Filecoin, obviously, and Arweave, I mean, decentralized storage is a big theme going forward. And we're seeing so many companies building on IPFS in particular, which Protocol Labs builds IPFS and Filecoin. So I like my bet is on Filecoin for the decentralized storage play.
What about this announcement that this company, Neon Labs, had created ethereal virtual machine compatibility now with Solana? How big a deal is this? That they're saying in Q3 this year, EVM Solana will effectively become EVM compatible. How big is this, Sam?
So it's interesting. It's super useful because it makes it really easy to port programs over. That being said, the EVM, like the just direct porting of EVM to Solana, I don't know the details of what Neon Labs is doing, but I think the worry is that it ends up not being nearly as efficient as if you built it natively on Solana. And the reason is you end up inheriting a lot of the baggage of it having been built on EVM in the first place in terms of being single-threaded. And so, and again, I don't know the details of that particular implementation, but that has, I think, generally been the worry about EVM implementations on Solana is just that, like, you know, it does make it very easy to port programs over, but you don't get all the power of Solana if that's how you do it.
Yeah. Okay, let's shift our attention to Tether, because we spoke about stable coins, and it does seem like everybody and their uncle and their dog is now looking at stable coins. Janet Yellen has this working group of stable coins. The governor of the Reserve Bank in Boston came out and said that Tether may be a risk to the credit markets. The CNBC had an interview with the founders of Tether this week. And I mean, let's listen to one or two things that happened in that interview.
So we do talk to lots of people. You know, one of my colleagues, Jim Cramer, he knows lots of major players in the commercial paper industry. And, you know, lots of other folks say that they ask whether they're doing business with you guys, especially because you're one of the top 10 commercial paper holders in the world. How is it, though, that none of the people we talk to as CNBC have heard of you guys?
Well, Deirdre, I can't speak to what someone else knows or doesn't know or sees or isn't seeing.
Well, help us understand that. Are you guys buying through an intermediary?
Right. We maintain, that's exactly right. We maintain accounts at a number of banks, financial institutions. They request quotes for commercial paper offerings from their banks, who in turn request those from brokers and other counterparties, both direct from issuers and on secondary markets. So I can't speak to, I'd be speculating if I talk about how people see that or aren't seeing that.
So that was the one part of the interview, and then Kramer ripped into them.
There's something, I don't know if you caught Deirdre Bosa's incredible interview yesterday with the guys from Tether. Brutal. Why? Because their lack of transparency was so frightening that Gary Gensler gave a speech yesterday to the American Bar Association where he's talking about maybe it's time to regulate some of these securities. Now, people don't want ever to hear that any of the things that you see right now are securities, particularly Tether. But if Gary Gensler decides that as security, he mandates that as a security, we're going to find out what they own. Now, Deirdre Bosa does not have subpoena power. Gary Gensler does.
What do you think? I mean, we've been in crypto for a long time. I think that I've heard Tether FUD since 2016, 17. Should we be worried about this?
So let's just do two distinctions. First, you can get Tether two ways. One is you can actually give them dollars or equivalent and buy it, or you can give them commercial paper or something else and borrow the Tether, meaning you can give them Bitcoin and borrow the Tether, right? So it's important to understand that a lot of the people that use Tether sometimes borrow Tether and not necessarily buy it from the other side. But it's important to also compare Tether to banks. Banks, you give banks your money, they hold no reserves, right? Right now, the Fed requires zero reserves. Zero. It used to be 10%. Now it's zero reserves. So here's Tether telling you we have over 100% of reserves. USDC telling you, Circle telling you we have over 100% in reserves, and everybody's focused on that instead of focusing on banks that leverage 20-1. So the systemic risk is not with Tether. Tether is $60 billion. Systemic risk is $100 trillion worth of banking leverage that has no reserves against it, right? So I think we just really, the FUD is because this is a topic of conversation, but that's not where the atomic bomb is lying.
I mean, what Alex is saying is actually partially true. I mean, Tether is probably less evil than the banking system. So it's all degrees, right? Like
Dracula is less evil than the banking system.
Well, so the banking system is heavily over leveraged. Okay, heavily. I mean, the required reserve ratio I think is 0 right now. So you have, because you can just get liquidity from the Fed. So Tether's basically saying, you know what, we can't tell you exactly, but we probably leverage it like 5x or 4x. But the banking system.
No, Vinny, they're not leveraged. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, proof of
it's commercial paper. It's the moment you go from fiat to fiat, it's commercial paper.
No,
it's not.
Somebody gave them fiat and they bought commercial paper. They don't buy it on leverage. They don't need leverage.
No, I know, but commercial paper is effectively leveraging the dollars. It's not 1-to-1.
But that's not their leverage. That's commercial paper leverage, right? The issue is, they want to earn some yield, right? They want to earn some yield. Circle wants to earn some yield. So they invest in assets that yield something. Some of it is treasury, some of it's commercial paper, some of it is sitting in cash. Very little is sitting in cash. So the issue is not, there's no leverage here. The issue is from Tether or from Circle, right? The leverage is in the banking system. You're buying a bank note or you're buying something like that. There is leverage in that system, right?
Yes, I get that. But my point is there. So when you buy commercial paper, you're effectively giving leverage to the company, right?
Yes.
And you're taking risk on the commercial paper. If the company goes to zero, you lose that money. But now you're getting a higher rate of return. So instead of getting 0.1% whatever interest, you're going to be getting 5%, 7%, whatever. You're leveraging up your returns. That's really my point. As Tether, instead of getting a fractional but 0.1%, they're now getting 7 whatever percent they're getting on commercial paper. But they've effectively added systemic risk to the Tether. Now listen, my point is, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. The banks are way worse with the required ratio of 0. They can lend out all that money multiple times and take whatever risks they want. The point is, whether it's Tether or even USDC, it's not 1-to-1 backed by dollars. And as long as we accept that it's it's not as bad as the banking system, it's probably okay.
Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, and it's all about communication here. It's all about what your expectations were. I think there's an interesting, discussion of whether this is leverage. I think it's a definitional issue, right? It depends on what your sort of prior is and what baseline you're comparing it to. But frankly, I think that there is, I don't know, I think there's arguments in both directions there. I think that, and I think in general, I've said and I'll say again, Tether is not the easiest stablecoin to create and redeem. It is a little slower, it's a little more expensive, a little more clunky to create and redeem than USDC, Paxos, others. It does have stronger secondary market liquidity for what it's worth. It has been around a lot longer, it has higher trading volume. If you're trying to get deltas off on exchanges, it is pretty liquid. But also, I think the higher level thing is all of these are arguing over a percent. All of these are arguing over whether this stablecoin is worth 99 cents, $1, or $1 and a penny. And I do think anyone using a stablecoin in crypto should think very hard about whether they can be confident it's worth $1 instead of 99.5 cents. And if they really care about that, right, if their business would blow out if it went down to 99.5 cents, you should probably not, you should really think twice before putting a giant stablecoin position on in crypto. But I also think that's a very different thing than sort of the narrative around is it a fraud? And so I think that I sort of I think agree in a lot of cases with other people who are nothing's perfect. I'm not trying to argue for perfection or greatness necessarily here, but like, you know, if the whole debate were on like should be priced at like a 1% discount, I would like completely reasonable debate to have. When the debate is like obviously this is a fraud, I think that that's like going way beyond what is merited by any of the facts on the ground or any of the experiences that people have had interfacing with it. I think it just doesn't line up with the facts.
What is your stable coin of choice? If you had, well, you have a couple of $1 million, but if you wanted to park a couple of $1 million and you wanted to park it in a stable coin, what would be your stable coin of choice today?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question, and I think it depends on who you are. So in particular, I think so for me in particular, I think I might choose a US based stablecoin. Why is that? Like, I'm from America, and why does that matter? It means like it's easier for me to get a US bank account than a bank account in another country. That's like the easiest place for me to get a bank account. And so when you talk about like what is important for me personally for creating and redeeming stable coins, like US bank accounts are great because that's where I am. Now, if you're not talking about me, but instead you're talking about someone who's born in a different country, and who's living, you know, in a different country and doesn't have a US bank account, but has a bank account in some other country, right? All of a sudden it does actually change this narrative a little bit. And now you have to start, you like literally the thing that you do here, given how many banks are reluctant to process large crypto-based wire transfers, you start mapping out intermediary banks. You're like, here's where I am. Like, here's the stablecoins bank. I can go like this or like that. Like, which of those paths is not going to go through a bank that will refuse to process a wire transfer related to crypto? Like, you end up going through this like annoying, like low-level analysis that's very specific to like your jurisdiction and your bank. And so, and you do see this quite strongly that like in the States, USDC is by far the most popular stablecoin. In the East, you generally find Tether being more popular, and there's a lot of reasons for that. One of it is the, you know, desire to have things in or not in regulated systems, but another is like which bank account is it easiest for you to get money to.
Paxos just published that they're over 90% in US Treasuries. So I would say that Paxos is probably the safest US stablecoin. And the funny thing that Binance, which is a BUSD, is a Paxos issued stablecoin, is probably safer than all these other options, which is a joke compared to considering what all these regulators are chasing Binance and trying to shut them down. So again,
Now, I want to talk about that. And Sam, I know this may be a little bit of a sensitive topic for you because they're your friends, they're your investors, and they maybe in some places could be seen as your competitors. But there's a lot of like noise around Binance at the moment. Banks shutting down on-ramps and off-ramps to Binance. A lot of it is absolute garbage FUD. We know that because we're in crypto, but it does seem like all of a sudden there is this narrative against Binance. They're making Binance out to sound like the other side, the dark side. All the banks are like, well, I mean, I'm with South African banks and British banks, and all of them have kind of come out and said, no more Binance transfers. What is going on in the background? Why do you think this is going on in the background?
Yeah, so it's complicated. And as was correct, one thing there is Binance is no longer an investor in FTX. But I bought them out recently. But when you look at what's going on there, I think it's a very different situation than what you saw with BitMEX in 2018, 2019, 2020. What I think you see instead is you certainly see a lot of people piling on. Like, you certainly see, you know, a lot of regulators sort of feeling pressure to say something about Binance because others have. That, you know, that sucks. If you're Binance, it's a little unlucky. I don't know if it's exactly fair. What you also see, and look, I don't, like, all I can do is speculate because I haven't been involved in the conversations between Binance and regulators, right? I'm sort of on the outside trying to predict what's happening. But, you know, one thing I will say is, like, you know, you look at you know, the high level business, and it's not like you're looking like, oh geez, like that's going down, like, you know, you can't do that crypto stuff or, you know, something like that. But I think that, like, one thing that we've certainly found is that it's like maintaining really cooperative, communicative relationships with regulators is super important. And especially when you're in an emerging industry where a lot of the regulations are still being written, There's a lot of different interpretations of them, and frankly, both sides are still trying to get a handle of the other. It's a tricky area, and one that I think just requires a lot of nuance, open lines of communication, willingness to adapt quickly, and willingness to and excitement to get licenses when appropriate.
Amazing. Guys, I've got 1 or 2 more questions, but we're going to open it up. We've got like 10 minutes, and we're going to open it up to the community. If you guys want to ask any questions to these amazing guests, we promised you guys Q&A with 3 billionaires and 1 guy who's nowhere near a billionaire. I'm not going to tell you who's who because you have to guess for yourself. So we will open it up. So if you do want to send some questions, drop them in the YouTube description. Alex, I want to turn to you. I know that you love BlockFi. I know that you got like I know that you're a big investor in BlockFi. I know you put all your stable coins in BlockFi. But BlockFi also seems to be in a little bit of hot water. New Jersey, now Texas. What's going on?
Well, it's not just Binance and BlockFi and XRP. I think we are being tested. I think, again, a judge and a jury is going to have to decide. It's not the cop that decides if you're guilty or not. And we haven't gotten to that stage yet that where a judge or a jury have decided if all of these attacks are appropriate or not. And look, I got to side with BlockFi here because I don't think that, again, what's happening to XRP or what's happening to BlockFi is appropriate. And I think we're going to have to wait and see what happens there. I think, again, we're trying to do good for people. We're trying to do good for the community. And the fact that like the old regime is attacking us doesn't mean that they're right. Esther Pierce said this best. She said it is not the job of the regulator to protect the incumbent. And that's exactly what's happening here. These attacks are protecting the incumbent. They're not protecting innovation. They're not protecting freedom. They're not protecting the future of finance, right? What Sam is doing, what other people are doing, that's the future of finance. Now, it's going to disrupt all of the stuff we know. It's going to disrupt Goldman Sachs. It's going to disrupt JP Morgan. And the fact that those people are calling their friends and saying, hey, go check out this company or that company is just dirty and disgusting.
We're going to open it up to the community now because I can see that the comments are going a little bit crazy here. I think we've got a question from the community from Colton Timpson. And he says, name the best book you've ever read. Why was it the best and how did it influence your life? Wow, that's quite deep, man.
Oh boy, I don't really read books anymore. I'm going to be honest. They're too long. I honestly feel like very few people have 500 pages worth of things to say on a topic that makes sense for very many people to read. I think like blog posts tend to be an appropriate length, but I really liked Harry Potter when I was growing up. Do you want a direct answer to that?
Yeah, I agree. I can't read books anymore. I read snackable content. It's much quicker.
Yeah.
The question. Whoa, hold on. What's SBF's sleeping schedule? You can see in the corner of the screen. I mean, if you look at the bottom corner of the screen, that's his bed, right? Oh my God, it actually is. Is that seriously your bed?
Yeah.
He's like Elon Musk. He just put Mike next to the rocket, so to make sure.
What is your sleep schedule? Because I mean, now we're catching you, and it is what late at night. What's the time? 12 o'clock at night.
11. And I see that there's still people working at the office behind you on a Friday night. Yep.
Wow. Okay. So what's your sleep schedule like?
Well, I guess let's just put it this way. My schedule varies each day. Today in particular, my last meeting before this ended around 6 p.m. So I had a good solid 4 hours without anything scheduled this evening, which was nice to get a nap in.
Okay. Now, I mean, look, I'm not a billionaire. Oh no, so one of us is not a billionaire, but why don't you get yourself a real bed and like put a real bed in the office? Like, I don't mind buying it for you on Amazon. If you send me the address, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, it's I'll upcharge you on that one. I honestly, part of the answer is like often I want a nap, but I don't want to fully switch off my brain and sort of transition to like hibernation mode. It makes it much harder to boot up. when it's over. And so I sometimes actually find that like beanbags are better for that than beds.
Wow. When was the last time you had 8 hours of sleep in one sitting, one sleeping, one what do you say? One sitting, one sleeping.
Right. I think I did last weekend.
Wow. Okay. Vinny, big question for you. What is the thing right now in crypto that you're the most excited about? Like, what are the segments, sectors? Are you excited about these NFT games? Are you excited about Axie Infinity? Because I am fucking blown away by this thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't own any Axie Infinity, but I've bought some stuff like Zed. I bought the one of the horses, and I'm really interested in blockchain gaming. I mean, I've been interested in blockchain gaming since we did like old mentors, with those you remember, on Shark Tank, South Africa. It was like 5 years ago. It was the first Shark Tank investment in Bitcoin, which I did, and the game never succeeded, but it was still a little bit too early. We built it on what is it? I forgot the platform, but it was basically building Bitcoin, and it was too difficult for us to get it up and running back in the day. That was like 2017 or 16 era. But like, it's gonna happen. Blockchain-based gaming is definitely the future of gaming for sure. I'm a gamer. I think that it's just a matter of time. Again, all the stuff that we were seeing now with like Metaplex and NFTs, it's gonna tie into gaming in a big way.
I must say, I played Axie Infinity this week for the first time. Wow, it's a lot more fun and it's a lot more addictive than I thought. It's a game of the mind. It's a game of money. You have to have the right axes. It's a game of the mind. You have to breed the axes. It's a lot of fun. It's super, super, super exciting. I think that Axie Infinity, though, is the AOL of that industry. So I think they're going to do very, 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 very well. But I think that the next generation of these games is going to be slightly better. What do you think, Alex? Have you? And I know that you own some Axies, right?
But I do have some NFTs and I have some all kind of other stuff, and but I'm all focused on right now on just adding more blockchains to Celsius and supporting every effort. We're not, again, our job is not to pick winners and losers. So we hope to add Solana soon. We hope to add other platforms. So. And I think all of this innovation is what's going to build the future of finance. I'm super excited about all of these experiments. And look, we're experimenting 1,000 times faster than Wall Street, right? Not 100 times faster, 1,000 times faster. So yes, there's some problems here and there. Yes, once in a while we're going to cross the line and the regulators are going to tell us, hey, go back. But overall, I mean, there's no stopping this, right? And I think
when do banks not cross the line?
They paid $11 billion in fines last year. I did a show.
Exactly.
But somebody did the numbers, run the numbers. So total crypto fines to date, just over $2 billion. Since 2008, total banking fines over $200 billion in banking fines. Okay. So like it's 100 times more. Like what are we talking about, right? So I think just like Vinny said, the banks are so bad. They're doing such dirty stuff, laundering money for the mob, laundering money for the cartel in Mexico. No one goes to jail. Nothing, right? So I mean, what are we talking about? We're comparing apples and oranges. Well, more like nuclear weapon versus green mining. That's what we're comparing here.
Sam, do you have any aspirations to go public on a regular stock exchange? And the reason why I ask that is not because I'm asking whether you have aspirations to take your company public, but whether you actually give a fuck about real world stock exchanges. Because I kind of feel like FTX is a much better stock exchange than any of the stock exchanges. Do you ever have any aspirations of, like, I don't know, listing FTX on the NASDAQ or something like that?
Yeah, maybe. I think there'd be real upside to doing it. I also think it'd be a big distraction. And, I think we're going to have to make a judgment call about whether that's worth it. I do think that there's a lot of innovation that can be had on stock exchanges, and I think we're trying to work on some of that. But, for better or for worse, right now, that's where the users are.
Sam, like right now, today, what's the thing you're the most excited about? Like, I can see in your eyes, like your eyes are sparkling. I can see you're super excited about something. What is this thing that you're so excited about?
It's not public yet.
Okay, but tell us. We're not going to tell anyone.
No, I understand. Yeah, it's a new racer actually coming. has an extra blade. It's supposed to a close shave, no cuts, clean. It's just it's the whole package.
It's the whole package. All right, there's the question for Alex. Alex, they asked, what do you think of Jamie Dimon's about turn on crypto? Do you even think that Jamie Dimon is involved in these kind of decisions?
Well, I think somebody showed Jamie that he can make real money on Bitcoin, and he decided that, you know what, let's allow our customers to buy it instead of leaving us and moving all their money somewhere else. So look, it comes a time for every bank, for every institution, where they have to decide, they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they basically try to shut you down, and then they start selling your shit. So here we are. They're starting to sell our shit. So, full cycle.
Vinny, what's exciting you at the moment? Most exciting thing in crypto today that you're looking at and going, this is it.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously biased because I'm in the digital identity space, but I think that institutional DeFi is going to take off in a big way, and I think that we're seeing so much more demand coming from institutions who want to put. So there's this huge spread between the interest rates that consumers and DeFi are getting right now and what institutions are getting. So the reason you can go to Celsius and BlockFi and everyone else is because there's just not enough capital coming in, and that's why their interest rates are high. And Alex will confess, at the moment, institutions can come and say, "Hey, Alex, can you take $1 billion and give us, 7%?" He's gonna be like, maybe not. Maybe you can do $1 billion. Can you do 10? Maybe less so, right? So there's this curve where the more capital comes in, the more those numbers go down to closer to what the banks are offering today. And that's the big opportunity for cryptos. How do we get all this capital that's sitting in accounts paying negative interest rates in Europe, whatever, 0.1% in the US? How do we get that into the DeFi ecosystem? And it can't work today because these traders who have access to this capital can't deploy it in anonymous marketplaces. They'll go to jail, right? If the counterparty to a trade where you're on a DeFi exchange is a sanctioned individual, so someone from North Korea or Iran or whatever, you'll go to jail as a trader for allocating that capital there. But if you're in a DeFi exchange where there's some sort of identity layer, there's some sort of interesting way to track who the counterparty is and make sure that you can use this thing safely, yes, you're going to see a ton of institutional capital run into DeFi.
Okay. Sam, a question to you from Full Cheer says, what language would you recommend coding in? If someone's about to start coding, what would you recommend?
So I'm going to be a little bit heretical, maybe. I mean, Python, but really the real answer is it doesn't matter. Anyone who tells you that what matters is the programming language that you're using is not prioritizing correctly.
Okay, interesting.
I'll add to that. I think find a project that you're excited about and see what language they're using.
Yeah.
And then learn, because then the motivation to learn that is just higher. So if you
totally agree.
Yeah, that's what I would do. I mean, and then once you learn, if you're a first-time programmer, once you've learned the syntax for one language, it's it's not easy to move to another one, but it's easier.
Yeah, guys, amazing. Thank you to my only 3 friends that are left, of which of the 4 of us, 3 are billionaires. So I do have billionaire friends. Thank you, guys. Love you guys madly. We are out of time. We will see you guys again shortly. I think we'll see you guys all individually. I've got to get Sam on the show individually. Vinny, you and I haven't had an individual show for a long time. Alex, we speak to each other all the time, but I think we need to see each other again. Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend. Sam, good night, my friend. Good morning, whatever you're going to do now.
Thanks, guys.
You.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.
Wow, what a banter, what a banter. I mean, how many other shows have had 3 billionaires on one show? I'm not telling you which 3 are billionaires. Guys, love you madly. I will see you guys again on Monday, unless something really bad happens on the weekend or really good happens on the weekend. Until then, get the fuck out of bed. Let's go.
Crypto Banter is a social podcast for entertainment purposes only. All opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers should not be construed as financial advice. Views expressed by guests and hosts do not reflect